All right, so as we focus on deviance this week, I want to take some time to share some thoughts and help you better understand this topic. When you first hear deviant behavior, you might actually think a criminal act. But why is deviant behavior not necessarily considered a crime? When we look at the definition of deviance, we see that what it actually refers to is a violation of cultural or social norms. So it's something that we look at within the context of someone's behavior, and really anything that goes against social or cultural norms would be considered a deviant act. Have you ever participated in a deviant act? Have you done something like picked your nose in public, dyed your hair a bright color, talked to yourself in public, or cut to the front of a line? Any of these things might be considered deviant in our culture. We have to remember that because deviance is determined by our cultural norms, then what is considered deviant behavior can change as cultural norms change. Deviance can also be a factor in positive social change. Think about Rosa Parks and her choice to violate social norms. Fortunately, the outcome had a positive change on our society. Because there is the opportunity for people to behave in such deviant ways, we need to have a way to keep this type of behavior in check. So, how do we do this? How do we maintain social order so that we don't live in a world of chaos? Each culture has a form of social control that helps maintain order. Let's take a quick look at an example that applies to our culture. So first, to clarify, we have social control, and this is meant to enforce the norms that are in place. This control helps to maintain the social order that we experience in our daily lives. You can think of social control as a manager, and the employee handbook would be considered social order because it has the guidelines for how we should behave. The manager uses those guidelines to provide us with expectations for how we should behave and also uses them to correct our behavior if it violates any of those guidelines. Another example would be family rules, and those would act as the social order, and the parents would be a form of social control. Now that we know there is a certain way we should behave, then there has to be a way to really enforce those rules. This is what we refer to as sanctions. You will see positive and negative sanctions for how you maintain social norms. If you conform to the norms, then you'll receive positive sanctions or rewards. For instance, you might get a raise or a promotion. You might get an extended curfew as a teenager. If you don't get into any accidents, you might get a discount on your car insurance. And I'm sure you can think of other examples from your own personal life. On the other hand, when you don't follow cultural norms, those negative sanctions will definitely come into play. If you speed, you could get pulled over, then have to pay a fine. If you don't complete your work, you can be fired or get a bad grade if you're in school, or even a bad review from your boss. Or it could be something like a disgusted or disapproving look from someone who sees you picking your nose in public. There are many ways to enforce social control to minimize the deviant behavior. I just want to briefly clarify and remind you that deviance does not equal criminal. Criminal behavior violates official law and is punishable through formal sanctions such as jail or some other sanction that is relative to the level of the crime committed. So as you participate this week in the discussion and read through the chapter, think about how you've participated in deviant behaviors and how people tried to keep social control and order. All right, so I hope that helped to clear things up. Again, if you have questions or if you have comments or anything, please go ahead and post in the Got Questions section of our course webpage.